I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Well, when I say the word landlord, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind? The very word implies wealth, authority, and status. Maybe that's one of the reasons that there are so many books and seminars claiming to teach you how to build wealth by owning rental property. And yes, you can be as rich as a landlord, although not every landlord is rich. Can you believe that some own property where they owe more than what their property is worth? That's right. You can go broke being a landlord. But in between those two extremes, you can find yourself dealing with a bunch of problems like leaking roofs, non-paying tenants, and economic downturns like we saw in 2008-2009. The risks of building wealth with real estate are substantial. This is true whether you want to become the biggest property owner in town or just buy a second home as a rental to help you finance your retirement. This is becoming a real popular topic with a lot of clients as they're seeing yields go lower and lower on bonds and other financial instruments. Well, with real estate prices so low after the collapse of the housing bubble, and again with such low yields in all the rest of the market area, it might be a great time to buy that second home. Before even considering a purchase like that, though, you need to consider several points. First, do you plan to eventually live in the house yourself? If so, buying it now and having a tenant pay the mortgage for you might be a great move. Of course, you're going to want to buy it in an area that you're going to want to live in eventually. Still, you need to take the following factors into consideration and make your decision carefully. Are you going to need current income from the property? If you do, then you're going to need to be able to buy it without a mortgage. That means all cash. Otherwise, the mortgage payments, along with the other expenses, are going to eat up most all of the rent, and you're not really going to have any cash flow. It's pretty unusual when you can have leveraged property and have a cash flow, and by leveraged I mean a property with a loan on it. Do you have the time and skills to manage the property yourself? Remember that water heaters quit, pipes need to be replaced, and furnaces go on the blink. Will you be able to do your own maintenance, or are you going to need to hire it done? Are you available to check out the prospective tenants and show the property, do all the paperwork and everything that is involved in renting property? A management company can relieve you of the hassles of arranging for repairs and vetting of tenants. You'll still pay the bills, though, plus fees of perhaps, say, up to 10% of the rent. You need to be realistic to the point of pessimism about your expected return. This is one area where I consistently see rental owners underestimating the real cost of owning their property. You need to assume that the expenses, the repairs, the maintenance, the taxes, the insurance, are going to be about 50% of the gross rental income for a single family home. The problem where most owners think that it's far less than this is because water heaters don't go out every year. Roofs don't need to be re-roofed every year. You've got to put in a stabilized fund for your average repairs and maintenance over a long period of time. So another thing that is often left off too is you need to figure the income of the property after being vacant for a few months out of every year. Actually, if you figure 1 month, it's probably sufficient, but you cannot figure the rent based on 100% occupancy because no property is ever 100% occupied. Be aware that a more expensive house isn't necessarily going to provide a corresponding increase in rent. The rental market, say, may top out at about $150,000 for a home, where you get, say, $800 a month. If you double the price of that home and have a $300,000 home, you will not necessarily get $1,600 or double the rent. You may find out that a $300,000 house is only going to rent for $1,200, $1,300, maybe $1,400 a month. If your main reason for owning real estate is investment income, and you have a small amount of money, or don't want the risk and management headaches of owning a house, a real estate investment trust, its acronym is REIT, R-E-I-T, is often a wiser choice than owning real estate directly. Finally, you need to be patient. If you overbuy income property and try to get rich quick, you're going to risk losing it all. At one time, Rapid City lost a number of military jobs and rental properties were sitting vacant. We were up to 25% vacancy during that time. As I scrambled to make mortgage payments, it felt as if my rental houses owned me rather than me owning them. Right now, I have interest in companies that own paid-for rental property, but getting to that point took me over 30 years. The IRS classifies some income from rental property as passive. Trust me, there's nothing passive about being a landlord. Just like any other form of wealth building, it requires education, good decision making, and awareness of the risks, and plenty of effort. Thanks for joining me.